Hi everyone. I was talking with a friend of mine today, and she was talking about how she's all stressed out and how difficult things are, and I just laid it was laid upon my heart that she was dwelling and that she was, you know, creating maybe more drama than it was necessary. She was making the simple complicated, and the difficult far more difficult by her fear, basically. And so, and I was a master at this. I was the biggest whiner, complainer, unhappy person. I was, been suicidal most of my life. And I was taught this wonderful, wonderful thing. And it's taught, it teaches it in the Bible. It teaches it all over. You get it in Buddhism and Hinduism, you get it in Christianity. And that's to quiet your mind. And, um, and I started with stopping daydreaming. That was the first thing I did. And then once I finally got, because I love to daydream, as a writer, you kind of have to daydream to get your story going. I'd crawl into bed for, for an hour while I was writing if I was stuck. And I would just sit there and daydream and daydream and daydream until I got the right wording and the right moment and the right everything. And then I'd get back up and start writing again. And so daydreaming was really quite important to, and I wanted to be a professional writer. I wanted to make a living as a writer. So, I was basically, putting myself in a situation where I was a professional daydreamer. But I wasn't writing at the time when I learned this. And so stopping that was okay. It didn't affect anything because I wasn't writing anyways. But once I got past stopping the daydreaming, I got past the dwelling. Let's say if you had argued with somebody and you're just rewording yourself, and you're repicturing the argument, what you would say to them over and over in your mind. And or if there was something, a noise in your car, all of a sudden, you got your car on fire inside your imagination, rolling down some hill or something. And I learned how to stay in the moment, and that changed everything. I can't even really express to you how much that changed, how much peace that brought into my life. The ability to just shut your mind off and live in the moment. It's um, for anybody who dwells, especially if you're having a problem with depression, you'll find that you're rehashing all these arguments, and creating arguments that don't even exist. You're making this whole ugly world that that hasn't even happened or is never going to happen in your imagination. And you take something that maybe is very bad, but you just won't let it go. You're thinking about it, thinking about it, and thinking about it, even though the moment you're in has nothing to do with any of that. So learning to shut your mind down and be in the moment is just amazing. And my mind literally moved so fast that when I first learned to do this, my brain physically hurt. I'm honest. My brain physically hurt turning it off. And it took me a long time to where it was natural. I actually had to, kind of focus on something in the room, or focus on something that was the I was doing at the moment, and making like that, enveloping myself and into it. And then later, when I finally learned how to be in the moment, I could just back up and I didn't have to focus on anything. I just let my mind, I let my mind free is what it was. It was trapped, inside of all this nonsense I had created inside my head. But once you learn how to, free your mind, once you learn how to set your mind free from all that worry and all that stress and everything, it is wonderful. I've gone through some really difficult times. Last year was a horrible year for me. Um, it was the worst year since my daughter died. It was, the 2-year anniversary happened in the last summer, and I guess I got to the point of acceptance, the last stage, but acceptance didn't bring me peace. It brought me more sadness because it finally became real. It finally became so real that I couldn't get away from it. I just had to, realize that, I'm in this life, I'm never going to speak to her again. I've lost my daughter, and she was wonderful, a truly wonderful person, very difficult. Um, in January, it was like January, I think 17th or 16th. I was like in an apartment complex where like 16 apartments, and I was up on a top corner, and the apartment next to mine caught on fire, and we were all kicked out of the apartment. And so I went. That was, I think, the fifth or maybe sixth time in my life I went homeless, and so there I am homeless again. and they gave me, like, a short period of time to get all of my stuff out of my apartment. It was just a nightmare and stuff it all into storage, and then if you've seen my first videos that I did, I ended up moving into an actual shed made out of closet doors, and it was surrounded by chicken coops. The mice wouldn't stop coming in, the flies wouldn't stop coming in, there was gaps and cracks everywhere. If it was hot in there, if it was cold outside, I mean, the cold just there was nothing holding the cold out. It was and then when I'd go into the house, it was just, it was horrible. I mean, it was a really bad experience, and so and then, I transitioned and went full-time on the day of Pulse, when Pulse happened, and, so, I mean, I was devastated, I couldn't stop crying. I mean, the first week, I just cried and cried and cried, and even after that, the next week, I was still into just devastated. There was no joy in my return to being full-time, and so the year kinda and then I was only here for a short period of time before I went to my stepfather to go help him in my mom's house, and that was incredibly stressful, but, I kept smiling through all of it, I did, I got like, right before I finally left, I got stressed out because he was just so hateful, and, I wasn't expecting that. I thought I'd finally had one favor in his eyes, and it was exactly the opposite, and so that really knocked me off my perch for a short period of time, but once I got away from it, and I just stopped thinking and stopped dwelling, and, I know the drill, I know how to do it. And so within just maybe a week of being home, I had this peace and I had this, this calmness back over me. But it's, good riddance to 2016, right? But I actually made it through 2016 with, I had some bad days. I honestly had some bad days, especially with my daughter. But I spent probably like 95, maybe even, 98% of the year with a great big smile on my face and joy in my heart and peace in my heart. And that's, you know, I I walked through it pretty good considering how I would have reacted before I learned how to do this. So if you're torturing yourself with your imagination and you're making everything bigger than it is, or if you got something that's really big that isn't happening to you every moment, but you won't stop thinking about it. So it's enveloping everything, even though it's only in part of your life. Um, Learning how to do this will really set you free. It'll really give you some peace of mind. It'll give you some peace, give you some maybe it'll even allow some joy into your heart. And so if you can figure it out, if you can do it, if you can try this, if it's, if you're at a point where you really need to change something because it's just getting too, overwhelming, the stress or the worry or the fear, then at least give this a try. I mean, it worked wonders for me. It works for a lot of people. Have experienced the same thing, and they'll tell you the same thing. Once I learned how to shut off my mind, the worry and the stress just kind of melted away. If you're in a stressful situation, it's difficult because you are living in the moment and the moment sucks. But when you step away from it, don't keep it with you. You know, you'll be far better prepared when it rears its ugly head in your face again because you won't spend the entire time stressed out and then have it right back in your face again. Learning to separate yourself from something that's not happening at the moment it's a wonderful thing. So I like to give advice, as you know, and this is a big one. This is an important one, and I hope you learn this and give it a try. Like I said, I started with stopping all daydreaming 100%, not even a tiny bit. And then after I figured that out, I stopped dwelling and I stopped worrying and I stopped overthinking anything. In fact, I lived completely in the moment, and I would go days at a time where there was nothing but the moment, and then I'd have to think about something or do this or, prepare for something. But even when I did that, I wasn't stressed out usually. And so, just because I learned this technique, and if I needed to step away from something, I could step away from it completely. And then when I got my strength back up, I can dig back in. And so I just hope you can get something out of that. I hope this makes sense to you because it's really a beautiful thing once you can achieve it. All right. Bye.